Welcome to my tutorial of the Sheeran Looper X. I got this thing a week ago and it's been great so far. And today I'm going to tell you all about it. There are going to be timecodes in the description, so if there's one specific topic you're interested in, you can jump right to it. In the end, I'm also going to show a quick demo. Let's go. Right, so I got the Sheeran Looper right here in front of me. So let's fire this thing up and get started. So you press obviously the button on the left back side to fire it up, and then it lights up beautifully and you can see the logo and it starts up. So now it's fired up. So as you can see, there are not too many buttons, but we're still going to go through them step by step. On the top here we have our track buttons, and there are 4 different tracks on which you can loop. And you always activate them by pressing them, obviously. If you activate one, the others are going to deactivate. So you can only have one active at a time. This is the one you're looping on. So as you can see, this one is for record, overdub and play, and this one is for stop. And this will actually stop all the tracks that are currently active. We're going to talk about those 2 buttons in detail later. On the top right corner you have your input gains for each and every of your 4 inputs. And you can control the volume separately. So for example, if my acoustic guitar is on 1, I can regulate the volume here. So how loud I want it to be coming into my looper. And right underneath you have your output gain. So this one is for your headphones, obviously. This is your main out, which goes out to the PA or mixing desk. And this one is the auxiliary out. There is an auxiliary output at the back, and when you go out from this one, you can regulate the volume here. Right, so let's start off with the menu, and we're going to walk through each and everything and what it does. This is what you can see when it starts up the first time. So you can activate the different tracks with your pedals. Then you can select a track and name it. So we want this to be called whatever. Let's call it guitar. So then you can rename your tracks, and you can do that for everyone. When you touch down here, you can change the tempo of the song on the knob on the left. So you touch here and then you go, for example, to 100 beats per minute. 100 beats per minute, sorry about that. Here, down here, you can see your actual loop time, like where in the loop you're actually at currently. And here you can see like how long the whole loop takes. I'll load an example here quickly. So if we take this loop, for example, which I have pre-saved, we'll go through that in a second. You can see the loop is 784 seconds long, and when you press play, you can see all the levels, and you can also see like where in the loop we're currently at. And this shows you if there is an effect loaded on the track. Currently there is on track 3 and 4. On the bottom right you can see multi, so this is currently the looping mode I'm in. There are 4 or 5 looping modes, we're going to go through them later. On the top right corner you can save your current track, so if you click that you can save as or save. Right now we haven't changed anything, we can just press save again, doesn't really matter. On the top you can see the current loop that's loaded. On the top left there you can see how much of your CPU of the looper is actually currently used. And on the top left, you can go back to the menu, basically. So this is the menu. On the top right corner, you can see how much of the whole storage of this thing is actually currently used. For me, it's now 54 megabytes of 5.1 gigabytes. So this one has 5.1 gigabytes of internal storage. You can also add storage via a hard drive or an SD card. So the first one here is the track view. This is the one we've already talked about. The second one is waveform, so it's actually another form of viewing your tracks. You can also see the effects here, you can rename your tracks, you can see the looping time, you can see the looper mode, you can save it, and you can adjust the BPM. So it's actually just a different version of the first page. Now we're going to the mixer, which is the third one. And here you can see all of your 4 tracks again. And on each and every one of those, you can activate and deactivate the effects. If there are effects loaded on the track, you can activate and deactivate those. You can also mute and solo those single tracks. So I'm going to demonstrate that quickly with one of my own songs, which is Baby Kiss Me. Here we go. So you do have your 4 tracks. On track 4, I do have the bass, so I can mute the bass. On track 3, I have the piano, I can mute the piano. And if I do want them back in, this is only track 1 playing as a solo track now. And then we can unsolo. We can also activate and deactivate effects. This is actually currently not doing anything because I have the effect as a pre-fader effect, so it's going directly onto my input signal but not on the whole track itself. So this doesn't do anything right now. You can also adjust the volume and mix your track on here. So you select the track and then you use the little knob on the left to adjust the volume. I'm going to show that. I want the piano a bit quieter. So make the piano quieter. The bass is too loud too. Another cool feature on the right, if you've mixed something you're not happy with, you can reset everything by using the reset knob and you see all the levels are even again. Number 4 coming up, this is the effect section. So again, you have your 4 tracks up here, and down here you can select pre or post fader send effect or pre or post fader effect. What that actually means is pre-fader effect will put the effect directly onto your input signal. And post-fader will put the effect onto the whole track. Like everything that's on that track will be processed with the effect then. So pre-fader is, for example, useful if you want to play a bass part with your guitar and you have a bass effect on, let's say, track 4. You activate the effect, play your bass part in, it goes directly on your input signal. Then when you're done, you deactivate the bass effect and you can keep layering normal stuff without the bass effect, like normal guitar stuff or keyboard stuff on top. Post fader will put the effect on everything that's on that track. Every layer, every loop you'll have on track 4 will be processed with the bass effect, for example. For me, I usually leave it at pre-fader. So you can go in here and add an effect, for example, adds rec. And then we're going to select a preset here. I like to use, for example, a bass, a vintage, whatever. And there are different options now. You can activate and deactivate certain effects here. You can, for example, add a delay effect onto your bass, whenever you want to do that. You can go into the delay and change different parameters. So whatever you want to do. For now, we're going to deactivate the delay again. And so you can go into every effect and change different settings here. So this is your effect palette. You do have a bunch of different effects to choose from. We're not going to dive deep into that now because that's going to take ages. So we're going to go back out. We do have an effect on track 4 now, which is our bass effect. And if we want, we can now go back into it and edit that one. We can also remove it back here, which we don't want to do now. But it would look like that. Remove this effect, you go yes, but we're not going to do that now. And you can activate and deactivate the effect right on the top corner. So now what you can also do is you can assign an expression pedal to your effect. So you can click on expression pedal and then you can assign parameters to that. So here, for example, we have the volume of each of the 4 tracks. We can assign that to our expression pedal. We can assign the panning of each of those tracks. We can also, if there is an effect loaded, choose the effect and it shows us a whole bunch of parameters which we can also map to the expression pedal. So for now, for example, we can choose the master volume of our effect, which is the bass effect, and we can assign that to our expression pedal. And then it shows us, okay, now it's assigned to the expression pedal, and we can also unassign this one again. So for now we're going to leave it there. And you can also assign those pedals to trigger certain effect parameters, which you do right here. We go back out for now, and the next one is our tuner. We can go into the tuner here, which is pretty easy. You can set your pitch reference, whichever you want, and you can select the input which you want to tune right here. For now, I'm going to demonstrate that quickly. I'll grab my guitar, wait a sec. So if you type that button, it actually deactivates input 1 for tuning, and all the blue ones are the ones that are active for tuning. So you can also activate and deactivate tracks on these buttons. So for now, track 1 is the input I want to tune, which is my guitar, so I activate that. Right, so there's also a different option to go to the tuner, which you're probably going to use more. You press function and then you press button A, so track 1, and then you're in the tuner. So this is what you can actually do while there's a loop running. So if you play a loop live and you feel, oh damn, my guitar is out of tune now, then you can go back into the tuner with those pedals, tune your guitar, go back out and keep playing. And all that without anybody noticing, because the loop station is going to keep playing your loop while you're doing that. Coming up to the next section, so if we want to save a loop, we can actually do that right here. So we click that button and then you can save as. You can either choose a new folder in which you want to save it into, or you can save as, for example, we say test 2, because I already have test 1. Then you press OK. Then you go to save and it's going to save it right in here. So if you want to save it to a folder, you select the folder before that. We don't want to do that here, so we're going to just save it. And then it's going to save that. Usually it's going to take a bit longer to load. If you have like more effects and tracks on here, it's going to take longer. And it's actually going to save everything that's currently on those tracks, as well as the effects, like which effects currently loaded on which track. It's going to save that as well. It's going to save if the effect is actually currently active in the moment you're going to save the loop, or if it's deactivated. So it's pretty much going to save everything the way it is, including your tempo, your effects, whatever. So if you want to delete that, you go to Loop Manager and we go back to test 2 because we don't need that, and you just hit delete. Then you say yes, we want to delete that, and we can also delete the other one because this is like the same. This one is self-explanatory. It will actually create a new loop. Since I have currently a loop loaded, it tells me, would you like to start a new one? All unsaved changes will be lost. And I say yes, because I've already saved it. So you create just a new loop. If there is already a new loop active, which is pretty empty, you can press that button and it just brings you back to your track view. Right next to it is the Loop Manager, which contains all of your saved loops. So everything you've saved, all of your projects are in here. And you can see your folders as well. For me, this is my performance folder. You can go into that and then you can choose like any song you want to choose. For me, we're going to just choose this one, for example, load this one. Then it's loading up and you see everything that's on those tracks. You can now play with every song, and then you go, and then you can stop it again. Right next to it we have the storage symbol, so it's basically a bigger view of the one in the top right corner. You just see that there are like 50 megabytes of 5 gigabytes currently used, and it also tells you how much recording time is still remaining until your internal storage is full. So in total you have about 8 hours. So if you want to choose a backing track you want to play to, you go into here and then you can choose of all your backing tracks. So they're going to be in this folder if you transfer them properly. If you go back, you can see that there are different folders here. So one is, for example, my loops. This is the one we've already seen in the Loop Manager. We can go back out and there are different tracks. So you can see basically the layers all on track 1. So there are dedicated folders for all your tracks as well, for your loops, for your effect presets, and for your backing tracks. If you want to load a backing track, you go into here and load the backing track. I don't have any backing tracks on here currently, so that's why this is empty. This is also what you're going to see when you want to transfer your data to your computer. So you connect your looper via USB, and then you're going to see it show up as an external hard drive if you allow it. And then you can see all those folders and you can go back in and you can transfer and copy all your loops back to your computer and the other way around. Alright, so next up is our loop settings. We can go in here and change a bunch of different things about our loop. So for example, we can change the tempo. We've already seen how that works. We can change the time signature right here. We can change the click track. We can say click on, click off. We can change count in and say we want to have 1 bar count in. We can also change that. For example, if I have 1 bar count in, we'll start like Yeah, and it shows our metronome. If we deactivate that, we start looping right away. Alright, so here we go to looper modes. Multi is actually the one I use the most. What it basically does is you play a loop on track 1, which for example is 4 bars long, and every other track is gonna be exactly the same length, so 4 bars long. What sync does is you're gonna play a loop onto track 1, which for example is 4 bars long, but on the other tracks you can now play multiples of that. So for example on track 2 you can play only 2 bars. On track 3 you can play 8 bars. On track 4 you can play 12 bars. And track 1 is 4, your reference. So it also takes multiples of that, which is it's going to repeat. So band mode, what band mode does, it's a combination of sync and song mode, as it says. What it actually does is you place down your beat, whatever, so which the loop that's going to run the whole thing through, you're going to place that on track 1, for example a beat. And then on each of the other tracks you can place a whole different section of a song. Like on track 2 you place the verse, track 3 the chorus, track 4 the bridge, and then you can switch between those. But only one of those 3 tracks can be active at a time. So track 1 is going to play the whole time through, and then you can have an additional track 2 playing, but track 3 and 4 will be deactivated. When you switch to track 3, track 2 and 4 will be deactivated. So only one of those 3 is going to play with track 1 at the same time. Free mode, you can basically do anything. They're all unsynced, tempo's unsynced, everything's unsynced, whatever. So you can do whatever you want basically. Right, and song mode is basically a bit like the band mode, just without that constant rhythm track. So we do have a bunch of different other settings right here. I'm not going to dive deep into that right now because I have myself not experimented enough with that yet. So if you're interested in another tutorial about that part, leave a comment down below and let me know. So the other part right here on the last one, you do have customized pedal menu, so you can customize all your pedal functions in here. You can also customize your mode pedal, which is this one. Per default it's set to mute, so if you activate it you can mute, this is muted, and unmute different tracks. And right here you can change that. For example, you can change it to tuner, so you can activate the tuner via your mode button basically. So there are different things you can do. But for me, I'd like to keep it on mute for now. Yeah, basically. And you can also reset the loop settings on every, like you can choose different pedal settings for every single loop you're doing. So that's when you activate or reset a new loop. So then just on your current loop, the mode pedal is going to be assigned to, for example, the tuner. Going back out, we can go to global settings. So here we have pedal logic, which is the pedal logic of this pedal right here. Per default, it's actually set to record, play, dub. So you record, then you press again, then it plays. And once you want to record again, you press that button again. So I have it set to record, dub, play because I pretty much layer very quickly. So I usually record my first loop and I immediately go into recording the second one. So I play something and then I go into the second one. So this is actually what Ed Sheeran also uses most of the time. So if you exactly know what you're going to loop and you're going to go directly into very tight looping into the next one, you're going to be better off with record, dub, play. And if you take your time, if you use it for backing tracks at home just to chill, or you take a bit longer, you better use record, play, dub when you need time to think about your next loop. Undo recording is if you hold this pedal, it's going to delete your last track, like the last loop you recorded onto it. So if you have track 2 activated and you hold that down, it's going to delete the last loop you recorded on track 2 basically. Yeah, and you can do that multiple times. So the looper is going to remember like in which order you played the loops. So you can record them one by one and delete them one by one on each and every track, which is pretty cool. Yeah, you can do different things here too. I'm not going to jump into everything now because that's going to take a while too. For now, I think I'm going to show you basically the most important features you're going to use when you start off with that looper. So we're going to go into all the pedals, how you actually get start looping. If you're interested in a deeper tutorial on every setting, then let me know. Then we're going to do just a settings tutorial. All right, so let's quickly go through the rest. On firmware, you can update your firmware, obviously. Let me know if you want a tutorial on that. It's actually pretty simple. Then you can go to transfer, and right now I'm already connected via USB to my computer. And then what it actually does, it's going to show up as an external hard drive. It says Sheeran Looper X, and then you can choose your loops, and you have all those 5 folders that I showed you earlier in the backing tracks section. You have audio, backing tracks, effects, preset, loops, and tracks. So you can go into loops, and then you see all the loops I have on my looper saved. You can go into that, and you have the separate tracks here. And then you can copy them as a WAV file back to your computer and start mixing them in post if you want to do that. Right now, we're going to disconnect again, eject Looper X. And now it's been ejected, and now we can proceed. Let's go to the audio routing. So what you can do here, you have an input, track, and output section. On the input section, you can actually kind of pan your inputs. For example, my input 1 is my acoustic guitar, so I do want to have that one in the middle. Inputs 2 and 3 are my keyboard, so I do want to have that one in stereo, so I have input 2 panned all the way to the left and input 3 panned all the way to the right. Input 4 is my microphone. I do want to have that one in the middle as well. On track, you see that you have all of your 4 inputs on each and every track. So for example, on track 1, let's say I just want to record my acoustic guitar, which goes into input 1 on track 1. So I can deactivate all the other inputs for track 1. So now only input 1 is going to record on track 1. If I play something on my keyboard, it's not going to record on track 1. You can do that with all the other tracks as well. You can also switch your output to mono and stereo on every track. I do want to have that on stereo, obviously, on all the tracks, but you can do it to mono if you want to. And then you can also see your outputs. For example, I can say I do want to have track 1 only put out on outputs 3 and 4 and my headphones, but not on outputs 1 and 2. So you can basically choose that for every track as well. For me, I also want to have that all active. Right, going to the output section, you do have your headphone output here, and you do have the outputs of your 4 output connections on the back. So if you want, for example, output 1 to be a bit quieter, you can also do that. For now, I want to keep it back at normal level. You can also do that via touch, which is cool. Right, so how are we actually going to use that now? So I do have a track that I recorded myself loaded up now. We're going to go in track view, and now I can play the whole thing. And I can stop the whole thing. I can select my tracks right here. I can play again. I can also record another layer on top. I press play again, and I'm recording on track 4 now. This is overdubbing mode, that's why it's yellow, because I've already recorded something underneath. If you want to stop, you press that again, it's going to play back. Now I can delete that layer. Obviously I haven't recorded something now. You can delete the last layer, and it says layers undone, 3, 2, 1. I can do that again. And now I've deleted my bass, which was underneath. Right. So you also can switch the tracks while you're recording. So I'm going to show you. If you currently want to record on track 4, now it's empty. So it shows a red for recording. Now you're done recording. It's going to play back. You can also overdub something now. And now you can switch to track 3, and now it's going to record from the point you press the pedal. It's going to record on track 3 and overdub there. Now you can delete that again. On track 4, you can delete the layer again. Holding this button will only delete like the last layer, and you can obviously do that multiple times, so you can delete everything, but it's going to take a while. There is a faster way to delete everything, and therefore you go to Function, you go to Clear Tracks, so you press the Mode button here, and then you can just press the tracks you want to delete. If you want to delete track 4, you press it, it's deleted. Everything's gone on here. You can do that with the other ones too. Going back out of Function. In Function mode, you can do different things as well. For example, if you press the Function mode, you can go on track A, you can go into Tuner. This is what you can do while the track's playing. I'll show you. Track's playing. And now you say, oh, my guitar isn't in tune. You go to Function, you go to Tuner, you tune your guitar. Actually works while the track's playing, I'll show you. So you can basically grab your guitar and be like, tune it, which is quite cool. What you can also do in Function mode, you can go to your effects palette, so you can basically activate and deactivate your effects. If the purple light is glowing like this, it's active. If it's dim like this, it's deactivated. So you can activate the effect by pressing the button, you can deactivate it like this. Going back out of that, that's the Function button again. What else do we have here? You can load tracks. So you can load different tracks you have there. For me, like for example, let's load Bad Habits now, and now it's loading another loop which I have in my loop manager stored. Let's play this one now. Yeah, that's quite cool. We can save the loop, which we don't want to do now because it's already saved. So what else you can do, and you can go to Function, you can go to Peel mode, and you can actually press Peel, and then you can peel, so you remove the last loop layer on these tracks. If you want to peel off the last loop shell you put on track 4, you're going to press that once. If you want to like delete the last 2 layers, you press that twice. It's basically the same like holding this one without the Function button on for 1 or 2 seconds. Yeah, so what else you can do? You can clear all, which we don't want to do now by just pressing a button quickly. That's not what we want to do. The clear all function you can also do by just holding this one down. I'll show you. This is gonna be like this, and then everything is cleared. All right, so there's also the mode button. This one's for muting and unmuting tracks. So what I like to do, I use this setup for recording my loop in the beginning of the song. And then when my loop is more or less fully recorded, I go to mode and then I start performing. I actually start singing, deactivate those 2, and I'm in the verse. I'm just having those 2 active in the verse. And once I'm basically to the chorus, I activate those 2 and we're back in the chorus. I'll show you that quickly. So we're having our loop, which I've already pre-recorded. We go into mode. Now we only want to have the verse. And then we're back to the chorus and I say, let's go. Step 1, step 2, and step 3. There are also functions hidden when you hold down those 2 buttons. So, when I hold down Function, I can do different things. I can bounce, I can multiply, I can change the speed. Bounce is basically moving a loop from track 2 to track 4. So everything that's on track 2, I can move that to track 4, to track 1, whatever I want. Multiply is I copy something, like if there's something on track 2, I can copy that and paste it to another track, or I just duplicate it. This is what multiply does, and speed is changing the speed. I'm going to show you that part. Damn, wrong. You go hold that down, you go to speed, and then you can say I want it twice the tempo. It's quite funny, but let's keep it normal. Yeah, you can also go to 8x and whatever you want to do, which is like way overkill, so that's what you can do with that. So what else do we have? Transpose. Transpose is quite funny. You can transpose the song with Transpose. I'm going to show you how that works in a second. You can also fade it out and in here. And you can also reverse the song. So reverse works the same as speed. Probably I'm going to just show you transpose and fade. Reverse you can experiment yourself with. So we're going to do transpose quickly. So let's play the song. Hold down. Go transpose. And then we can actually activate the tracks we want to transpose and go semi up. So basically, if it's white, it's active. So you have to click those tracks you want to transpose again, and you have to activate transposing again. So it's not gonna just transpose right off the bat. And you can go back down. So if it's on orange, it's actually not working. Like you can go semi up, but it's nothing's gonna work. So you have to activate that button actually. And now you can basically transpose. All right, let's go back out. Right, so that's that. You can also fade the track. I've changed the loop because I've gotten bored of it. So here's the new one, and I'm gonna fade it out. I'm gonna show you how you do that. You're gonna hold down function, press fade. Fade rate is 50%, which means it's gonna be half a loop, which is a bit, yeah, it's not enough for me. So I want to have that at 200%, which means it's 2 whole cycles of the loop that it takes to fade out. And now we're gonna fade it. So basically it takes 2 whole cycles until it's gone. So now you see on the green cycle that it's completely faded out. The cool thing you can do now is you can fade it back in. So it's gonna come back in, which I think is quite sweet. Probably never gonna use it, but you can do it. Yeah, so that's that part. So you can also hold down the mode button, which you do right here. And when you do that, you can switch your looping mode. So you see in white, this is the one that's active, multi-mode right now. But you can also switch your looping mode right through your pedals. You can also choose your track view. So you go to your track view. You can also say, no, I want to switch to wave view basically while you're live playing, which is cool. You can also say, well, I do want to have my mixer now. So you can do that while you're actually playing live. So that's pretty cool. Right, so thank you for watching till the end. Leave a like and subscribe down below. There are gonna be live covers of me using that thing coming soon. You've already heard some demos on the tutorial, so you don't wanna miss that. So have a great rest of your day. If you have any suggestions for future videos or any questions left, write them down in the comments. I'll try to answer them. See you in the next one.